Good morning. Welcome to the February 3rd, 2026 Blue Earth County Board meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Those who can, please join us in standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and we'll start. Agenda review, Bob?
Madam Chair, we do have one change to the agenda today, and that is the addition of a change to our committee list, and so we'll add that to the end of the administration section.
Okay.
I'll move the amended agenda.
Okay, I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to drainage. Good morning.
Putting Jordan in the hot seat today, huh?
Full house.
I guess. All right. Whenever you're ready.
All right. The first item here, Judicial Ditch 32. The Blue Earth County Judicial Ditch 32 watershed is approximately 2,100 acres in size and located in Pleasant Mound Township. Based on inspections from a section of culvert crossing involving Minnesota State Highway 30 and the Judicial Ditch 32 public drainage system, the current culvert has been previously repaired, which is causing a partial obstruction to the public drainage system. The use of original Judicial Ditch 32 records and field surveys to confirm the current crossing size has led to the development of repair plans involving ISG engineering staff. ISG engineering and county drainage management staff have worked with Minnesota Department of Transportation engineering staff to develop plans consistent with correcting the obstruction with a properly sized culvert, as established with the Judicial Ditch 32 public drainage system. An informational landowner meeting was held on December 12th, 2025 to discuss the proposed repair report, including costs and plans. Action requested at today's meeting, we are respectfully asking the Drainage Authority to approve the draft findings in order, setting a repair hearing date for February 17th, 2026. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would so move.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. The second item is setting the hearing for County Ditch 63 redetermination of benefits. The Blue Earth County Ditch 63 watershed is approximately 1,100 acres in size and located in Decoria Township. On May 14, 2024, the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority approved a findings and order initiating a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 63. Viewers were appointed in order to create an updated benefits and damages listing and viewers report for County Ditch 63. A copy of the drafted viewers report for the redetermination of benefits was submitted to Blue Earth County Drainage Management staff. Action requested, we request the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority set a date of March 3rd, 2026 at 9 a.m. for a hearing on the proposed viewers report for the County Ditch 63 redetermination of benefits.
I'll move approval. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. On to 32. Well, that was 32, right?
63.
That was 63.
15.
Look at how fast we're going.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. 15.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark Manderfeld, Deputy Director of Property and Environmental Resources. Regarding multi-year levy recommendations, at the December 16th, 2025 County Board meeting, the Board approved a resolution to authorize single-year and multi-year drainage system assessments. In the process of staff applying those assessments for payable 2026, drainage staff identified a correction to be made to Joint Judicial Ditch 15, which is Blue Earth and LeSueur.
Okay.
The assessment approved in December was $779,900 and was levied to cover the existing cost to the system. However, the LeSueur portion of expenses was included. by reducing the assessment from $779,900 to $684,800. The assessment will cover only Blue Earth County's portion. Drainage staff will work with LeSueur County to assess their portion. The 10-year term limit will still remain, and recommended action is the approval of the attached resolution approving the revision to the 2026 Joint Judicial Ditch 15 assessment.
Move to approve.
Uh,
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. And on to the next.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Ryan Henniker, County Drainage System Coordinator with Property Environmental Resources. I have a repair bid awarding. We're seeking approval for County Ditch 16. Bids were solicited for approved County Ditch 16 repairs per the engineer's bidding and specifications. A total of 8 bids were submitted on January 21st of 2026, with one bidder being rejected based on insufficient references. The submitted base bids range from $411,656.90 to $637,883.33, with a bid alternate given for an additional scope of work involving tree clearing and cleaning in and around the Knights Lake area. The engineer's estimate for the proposed repair work was a base bid estimate of $640,412.90 and a bid alternate estimate of $48,032.58. The 8 submitted bids are provided in the table below, with the lowest bid submitted from Kruger Excavating of Albert Lee, LLC, with a low base bid of $411,656.90 and a bid alternate price of $27,285. Blue Earth County and ISG have worked with Kruger Excavating of Albert Lee, LLC on past projects with a similar scope of work with positive results. ISG recommends awarding the repair contract to Kruger Excavating of Albert Lee, LLC. Today, we ask the County Ditch 16 Drainage Authority to award the repair contract to Kruger Excavating of Albert Lee, LLC for a total amount of $438,941.90 for the proposed repairs for County Ditch 16.
Thank you.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, final drainage item today is a resolution for capital funds. The following attached is a resolution to advance capital funds to the ditch fund. This resolution is prepared annually by the Blue Earth County Finance Department for board action. Today's recommended action is approval of the attached resolution for the advancement of $10,068,219.48 from the capital fund to the ditch fund to cover deficit cash balances. This advance is to be repaid plus 6.25% interest. That is all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And
I'll move approval. Second.
any discussion? Yes, Kevin?
Just remind me that 6 1/4 interest, is that on a formula, or how do we determine that? Does that change year to year? And what,
That is a good finance department question.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, yes, we do set that annually at the organizational meeting, so it's tied in with the Small Cities
so
Revolving
it
Loan
is
Fund,
consistent
and-
with everything?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just for note, it was 7% in 2025, so a little bit of a reduction.
Pretty good reduction. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a great day.
Next up, Carrie.
Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning, Madam
Good
Chair.
morning.
Commissioners. Ooh, for a little ride there. All right. What I'm bringing forward to you this morning is the proposal to move from Office G3 licensing to Microsoft G5 licensing. What that will give us is advanced threat protection, data governance, information protection, and lots of safety and security settings for our sensitive data and cyber threats that we're battling every day. What we currently have for our Microsoft licensing would be considered a la carte, meaning we've added modules over the years, and the way it has added up, it's a slight increase to go to G5, but not much. And over the years, we'll see a decrease in cost with our strategy to move to Teams calling. So is my recommendation this morning to move, to upgrade from Office 365 G3 to Microsoft 365 G5 licensing, just due to the security and the compliance solutions, the productivity tools, and the long-term cost savings make it a worthwhile investment. So I'm asking that we can proceed with a quote proposed by SHI for $185,349.28.
I would move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I-
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? No?
Nope.
Keeping us safe.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
We're not done.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we're done.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Carrie. Good seeing you.
I'm just surprised I remembered we weren't done. So, Public Works. Ryan,
Good morning, Commissioners.
good
Morning, Ryan.
morning.
Relatively brief agenda for the day, but a couple of action items to address. The first action item is consideration and final payment for State Project 007-629-007, which is the County Stated Highway 29 bridge replacement over the Maple River. The prime contractor was Minowa Construction. The original contract amount was $1,299,193.20. Total work certified to date, $1,297,358.98, with a final payment amount of $12,973.59. I would recommend payment of this final contract payment.
Okay,
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Action item number 2 of the same vein, state project number 070-007. Say that 3 times fast. That's the 2025 Highway Safety Improvement Program, HSIP projects. Safety Signs was the prime contractor for that contract. Total contract amount, $384,085.68. Total final contract amount, $405,968.43, with a total final contract payment of $4,059.68. I would recommend approval of that final contract payment.
All righty.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, so that takes care of my 2 action items. Just noteworthy that both of those projects did heavily utilize federal funds to pay for the construction of them, so.
Always good.
Yeah, that's the nice part of those. HSIP are relatively easy to implement for federal projects as long as you're not turning soil over. Information item updates, CASA 26 bridge replacement project in Mankato, just north of the North Riverfront Drive. We're moving forward with bids to be opened on that on February 11th, and we'll bring those to the board on March 3rd. CASA 5 from Riverfront Drive to Summit Avenue. Bolton and Mink is making plan revisions following MnDOT's plan review comments. Right-of-way acquisition is underway. We're still waiting on the draft railroad crossing agreement. That's about a month behind now, and I'm starting to get nervous. We don't have any real leverage to push on the railroad for that other than pestering them for it. But that could have impact to our total project schedule. You know, I mean, I think we could still let the project and that work would have to slide into a later portion of the year, maybe the subsequent year, which I really hate to do, but
Yeah.
it'd be still, I think, important to get that project under contract. So we've got a few months to think about it regardless. Cooperative construction agreement has been sent to Mankato for review and approval on that project. We anticipate learning the results of our $1.5 million local road improvement program grant application by the end of March. And we also anticipate bidding the project in early April if right-of-way acquisition goes according to plan. CASA 69 reconstruction. Plans have been submitted to MnDOT and comments have been received, and those revisions are underway. We're beginning right-of-way acquisition on the limited parcels needed, and we would anticipate bidding that as well in April.
The county stated Highway 5 roundabout interchange at US Highway 14, while it's out at the end of our capital, our transportation improvement plan for about 2030. We are still pursuing funding opportunities. So we did submit the local partnership program, which utilizes MnDOT funds to pay for MnDOT share of the project. So it's a special pot that we went after. We requested a total of $2,230,900, which is estimated to be 35% of the total estimated project cost. And that would basically take up the majority of those funds from 2027 to 2030. So for project design and development, and then into construction to pay for MnDOT share. Also at our annual conference, our district engineers meeting, we debated the STP federal funding, so the formula federal funds that get distributed to MnDOT, and of those, a percentage gets put out to the counties, and with that in our district, we have an application process and an equity formula that is used. We were able to jump ahead in line a little bit and secure approximately $2.1 million for fiscal year 2030 funds for that project of federal dollars. So we will have to federalize that project, which is never pleasant, but the circumstances for this made sense to federalize it because we have to go through the full MnDOT trunk highway review process, which is already painful. So it's kind of indifferent at that point. Yeah, you're going through the ringer regardless. You might as well use the federal dollars. And so if we could get those two, that puts us 2/3 to 3/4 of the way towards total project funding. So that'd be a good chunk. So I'm pretty confident in the federal dollars, and I think the LPP dollars are also, we should be able to get something out of that. If not everything, we should get a pretty big chunk. So we'll still look for other funding opportunities to close the gap on that project. The CASA 9 bridge replacement project, we will touch on that some more, but TKDA is working on plan production in an effort to meet the June 1st authorization deadline. They will also be working on a justification letter to support the county's request for additional ER federal funds to complete the project. For our maintenance activities, I'll keep it relatively short. Plowing snow and moving. So that's been what they've been working on. Yeah, snow and ice control and moving. I know they put a really good dent in getting most of the stuff out of the old shop. I think all the equipment's moved over, and now it's kind of still moving some parts and things out of the storage areas and finding places to go with them all, and just trying to make sense of it so we don't have to move it all twice or reorganize it in the future.
Looks nice.
Well, don't take anything you haven't used in the last several years.
I've told them that too,
All right,
yes.
just so we're clear.
They
We
found
don't
some
need to be-
prizes in there.
Yeah. If it hasn't been used, it's time to
Yeah,
get rid of it or
don't move it.
recycle it.
I agree. So a lot of it's being left, that type of stuff's being left at the old shop with the intent of putting it on a auction,
Right.
the online auction or
Yeah.
something to that effect. Yeah, I agree.
Get it cleaned up and organized so it looks nice, but
Yep.
we don't need to be hauling that stuff up there.
I agree. With that, I have a Rapidan Dam update provided in the board packet. I'll go through that relatively briefly, just kind of hit on the highlights. For the 9 bridge, December 30th, we met with TKDA, discussed several items, one of them being that TKDA and ONE will review the steel industry pricing to update their cost estimate heading into the 90% plans. Obviously, the big cost on that bridge project with the size of the bridge is the steel, so the steel industry pricing is going to have major impacts. On the 13th of January, we participated in a project management team meeting with TKDA, discussed several items. We discussed developing a letter, again, requesting additional funding, providing that justification for cost overruns from the very preliminary bridge estimate. And if, for clarification, when we had to come up with that number, it was very, very early in the process. And so what we utilized was the existing bridge footprint size and took it times the industry average cost per square foot for that type of bridge. Little did we know, given the dynamics of the channel and all the things that have changed since then, that we'd have to come up with a much more robust bridge. So we took what was, at the time, seemed to be a reasonable estimate. Unfortunately, it swelled significantly. So we're going to work through that process.
What's the number at on it, Ryan? For total cost, do you remember?
I think it's about 27.8
27, okay.
million for construction,
Yeah, that's what I
which
thought.
is a lot. So we've got about a $12 million gap, if I remember correctly.
a challenging bridge to build.
Very challenging. The no adverse effects determination has now been accepted now that the MnDOT Cultural Resource Unit comment period has expired, and 90% plans are scheduled for submittal in late March. 100% plans should be submitted in late April, which again, we have that June 1st authorization deadline. On the 27th of January, we met again with TKDA and discussed several items. They're working on comment resolution from MnDOT 60% plan still. They plan to provide a draft cost increase. We should be seeing that by the 23rd of this month. And kind of repeat again on, this is an important one. During the open house meeting, there was some miscommunication on the construction timeline. And TKDA will be providing a letter on their letterhead clarifying the fact that their anticipated construction timeline will be from the fall of 2026 through the fall of 2028. So we'll be able to utilize that to clarify any miscommunication that was made on open house materials. We discussed possible future project coordination that may be required between the bridge contractor and the dam removal contractor if both projects end up underway simultaneously. You know, in all honesty too, there might be an opportunity that depending who we get for a bridge contractor, if they've got the access roads and everything in,
Yeah,
they
let's
might
get
have
it
a
all
really economical bid to take the dam out too. So if timing works out. Again, I would anticipate the bridge is gonna be at least a year ahead in bidding schedule of the dam, if not more, so.
But they'll be there for a couple of years building a bridge, so.
Right,
Yeah.
yep. Dam update items. On January 6th, I spoke with Eric Gross from the FERC regarding their final report on dam failure. Kind of summary of the comments are there. That should have been approved. I haven't seen it released yet. So, let's see, on the 12th, we participated in a meeting with the FERC regarding license surrender and discussed several items. I'm not going to go into depth on those. A lot of them are very technical in the weed items. And let's see. On the 13th, we met with Homeland Security Emergency Management to discuss interaction between the FEMA ER grant, which is what we're pursuing for theoretical return the dam to pre-flood condition, and the hazard mitigation grant program that our PER and emergency management departments are pursuing for private properties. The private property, the Hrushka property, was being considered for the HMGP, but there's also some implications of how it could impact the FEMA ER grant.
Mhm.
And so HSEM, knowing after we explained our project to them in an initial meeting, we're able to meet with FEMA to discuss what we intend to do with that entire area. And there's some limitations on there. Per the terms of the hazard mitigation grant, it does require recording a deed restriction on that property. So the county would have to own it, but a deed restriction would have to be placed. And with that deed restriction, it would prohibit the placement of any fill or any activity on that site, which would mean stabilizing the site would be very difficult. You'd have to go back to FEMA after the fact and ask for permission to do so, which would not be a guarantee. After we further explored that, they don't even believe it's feasible to place fill that doesn't come from, the only fill they would allow on the site is fill from that site. Well, there's no fill on that site. It's all down the river. And this is a statutory requirement, which is very, very challenging. Any revision to the deed restriction would require FEMA's chief counsel approval. So in our conversation with HSEM, they don't really believe that there's even a point in following up with FEMA on this matter because it's so set in stone that you can't place fill and do the work that we would have to do to stabilize that property if the HMGP grant application is pursued. So we've had some internal staff meetings on that and where to go next. It sounds like other FEMA programs could have some similar fill requirements, so we're working our way through that. On the 15th, we participated in a project management team meeting with BAR and discussed several items again. We set up an agency review meeting to review the 30% plans on January 29th. So that didn't make it into my report, but we did have that. Things still seem to be tracking generally in a good direction for the natural river reestablishment approach. It does sound like the regulatory agencies, originally they had shown kind of cutting the dam off at the, kind of the flow line of the river and leaving the footings and the old apron in place. That's not an acceptable approach, we've learned, so they want the footings out. It all returned down to natural substrate or natural river bottom material, including removal of the extension of the concrete apron. Now, the giant mass of concrete that's down there that's grouted into the rock, that can stay, otherwise it's gonna be a massive scour hole. So Bar will be revising their design accordingly to match up with that.
Huh.
The concern was, as that deteriorates over time, rebar sticking up, safety concerns for people utilizing the river. So I do understand that,
Yeah.
and to an extent, getting it out now versus having to go in 5-10 years from now and take out pieces.
Not getting any cheaper.
Right, does make some sense and takes the headache away in the future. We really need to finalize our area of potential effect, so we're working on that. And then the EAW should be ready to submit to PER by the end of February or the beginning of March is what I've been told. The budget for our hydraulics and hydrology work is close to overrunning due to the several design changes and iterations that we've had now. So we'll continue to monitor that. We may want to track that separately and develop a change order so that we can track that aside, so it's not going to impact the total budget for Bar's scope of work. And I would bring that to the board if necessary. According to Bar, channel downcutting and slope stability analysis results have not been overly concerning so far, so I think that's good news based on how they phrased it. And we did have a meeting on January 27th with Bar and Bolton and Mank to discuss preliminary thoughts and approach to public engagement. So I've had a couple of other meetings since then. I don't have them summarized in here, but those will be in next month's report.
Sounds good.
Okay. Be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any discussion or questions?
No, busy time.
Appreciate your work on this.
Appreciate all your
Thank
work
you.
on that.
All right, we'll see you guys about 11.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
Ryan. Mr. County Attorney.
Madam Chair, thank you. The report kind of speaks for itself. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. But otherwise, as we sit here today, things are kind of status quo in the office.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
On to administration.
Well, Madam Chair and Commissioners, the first item is county board minutes for January 20th.
Move to approve.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next are the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
All right.
I'll
So-
move. Go ahead.
I'll move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Tab 11 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. I just have informational items for the board today. Starting with recruitment has been initiated for an appraiser in our Property and Environmental Resources Department. We then had a resignation of a human service supervisor in our Adult and Disability Services area, and so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. We did fill a 911 telecommunicator position in our Sheriff's Department, as well as a correctional officer in the jail. And then lastly, we had a resignation of a library technician, a part-time position in our Mapleton Library, effective April 1st. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have on any of those informational items.
No questions.
All right. Tab 12 then is the financial status for December 31st of 2025, so the end of our fiscal year. You'll see that our total revenue came in at $173.2 million against expenses of $167.6 million. Some notable things are our state and federal revenues did come in higher than the previous year and our budget, which is good news in that it helps balance our budget, so to speak. We obviously had presented to the board bonding for the Public Works Department, so that shows up in that other financing sources. We did change the amount of the bond we had anticipated, which was 10 million when the budget was approved, increased that to 30 million, so that's the variance that you'll see on that line. Our interest on investments did come in more than double what our budget was, so again, we had a good year in terms of return on our investment. On the expense side, our public aid assistance was a little bit over our budget at 106.1% of our anticipated budget. Our personal services were slightly under our budget, so at 98.6, and a lot of that was a result of vacancies that we held open in 2025, anticipating some future budget challenges. Our building and equipment purchase line was higher than the budget. Again, the Public Works project did proceed faster than we anticipated with the budget, and so some of those expenses were anticipated in 26 and fell into 2025. Under the enterprise fund, this is the Ponderosa landfill. We took in $6.1 million of revenue against $5.9 million of expenses, and so finished the year in the black with the landfill. And then on the second page is our cash and investment balances. You'll see we finished out the year at towards the top, the total available funds at $87.5 million against a 6-month operating needs target of $74.3 million. Towards the bottom, you'll see the total county funds sit at $145.4 million. The one maybe slightly concerning number in this report is the library did finish the year in a deficit fund balance position, only $13,000, so not the end of the world, but it is a concern as we look down the road at some of these funds that rely heavily on property tax revenues, that we are seeing some degradation there. The other fund balance that's maybe a little bit of a concern is our human services fund balance. You'll see in December of 21 that fund balance sat at 13.1 million and has now decreased to 8.9 million as we've had some deficit situations in that departmental budget. But overall, we're sitting in a strong financial condition at the end of our fiscal year. Be happy to answer any questions the board might have on either of those pages of the financial report.
Any questions for Bob?
I don't have any questions. Looks good, though.
All right, the last item then I had was the add-on of a change in our committee list. We did hand out the committee list and highlighted that because of some conflicts, we found that the Mankato Area Planning Organization has a meeting later this week. They will not have a quorum without a member from the county attending. We didn't have an alternate for Commissioner People listed, and so recommending that we appoint Commissioner Stuenberg as an alternate to the Mankato Area Planning Organization.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Thank you, Vance.
Yes, thank you very much.
We haven't voted yet, we can't.
All in
Thanks for
favor?
volunteering.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Now we can
Now,
congratulate
well,
them.
thank you. All right.
And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Bob. Then we'll move on to commissioner reports, and we'll start with Kevin.
All right, since our last board meeting on January 20th, I attended on January 22nd. The DNR had their public meeting for public waters inventory. Remember, we're one of the first of 4 counties that they look at that. I attended that. I couldn't help myself. I did have to ask them why they're holding the Blue Earth County meeting in Nicollet County. And assured them we have meeting space over here as well. But we're working through that. Really appreciate Our staff, Scott Salisbury did a great job. He was well prepared with some questions and concerns, as well as sticking around afterwards to help some of the citizens on their individual concerns as it affected their specific land. I do think we need to have continued conversations with DNR because we found that their maps they sent us as chair, or as the county, don't necessarily match all the maps on their website. That's got to determine. So continuing to work through that. On January 23rd, the True Transit Advisory Committee meeting, kind of get in prepared of the February 19th Joint Powers Board meeting where we'll look, because some of the cost shifts and other things, the need to increase ride fares possibly. On the 26th was Renewable Minnesota Energy Board. I attended the AMC Drainage Conference on the 27th through the 29th. And then on the 30th in the morning, we had LeSueur One Watershed, One Plan Policy Committee meeting. And that afternoon was our every other month Gaburba Policy Committee meeting. And then on January 31st, I attended the Soups for Troops fundraiser here in Mankato. That completes my report.
You're busy.
On the 20th, after our board meeting, I managed to get over to the Ag Expo for just a few minutes and visit with a few vendors over there and made my rounds through there. And then we had our ECB meeting on the 22nd, and nothing new to report there. Everything's going really well. The chairman's doing a good job running the meetings, and EMS is helping us out quite a bit with the organization of that. And then I had South Central Workforce. Just approved a couple of the reports they had for the year, and then a couple other quick items to do. We didn't have a quorum, so we did have to do some internet vote after the fact, but that's going very well. Then that evening I had the Minnesota Valley Action Council meeting. Not a whole lot to report there neither. Judd is working with the heating and improvements with the homes and whatnot for the Mankato and weatherizing for the 9-county area. He said it's been very busy with that. And then we were up at the MICA annual meeting, which we had a lot of good information on the Health and Human Services and some of the new legislation that's coming down in front of us in the next year, and politely heard from all of the legislators that were there that yes, they would help us put some of this stuff off, but it seems like none of that ever gets done, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. That's my report,
You're
Madam
saying
Chair.
don't hold your breath?
Yes.
Yeah. Dan?
All right, I have a rather short one this time. The 26th, I had a Transportation Alliance Board of Directors meeting on Zoom. On the 30th, I had a Minnesota Social Services Association Region 9 legislative listening session that I tuned into, and had a lot of good information from our legislators from across the area. I had attended the Soups for Troops on Saturday, the 31st. And yesterday I had a MRCI Finance Committee and board meeting over at MRCI. And that's the end of my report.
All right. Mine's pretty quick. I had on the 20th, the NACO regional call and the AMC call. On the 22nd, the NACO advisory advocacy call. On the 27th, I had NACO FIGA, my committee. 28th, I had community ed, and we talked about ACEs and raising fees and all the fun stuff that you do. And the 29th, I too attended the MICA annual meeting, and I did jump on the call with the MSSA, but I didn't stay on for very long because I had another appointment. And that ends my report. So I need a motion.
I will move to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned.